So, those who've seen me before know that I normally work with these fine liner pens. Because of the way I do line and wash, you need a pen with waterproof ink in. Because otherwise your watercolour wash will bleed into the ink. And these pens are great for that. But what I'm going to do today is to use that thing. Fountain pen. That's my favourite lockdown purchase. It's full of waterproofing. Sold as Waterford rough paper, 300 gram. But I can't begin to draw without giving myself kind of a framework. So I've given myself that to draw on. And today's subject, so I'm going to draw that. That's Staithes. Yeah? You think that'll be alright if I have a crack at that? And this is in chapter 2 of my book. The key to working from a reference photograph is to edit out stuff that you're not keen. So I'm going to not draw the boats, leave the bridge out, and just draw this house. No. So what I'm going to do is use a pencil. But if I show you how little pencil I would use, if I were to map all of that out in pencil, it would take me till 2:30 to do the pencil drawing. And then you do it all again in pen. So life's too short to do that. Plus, if I do all the shapes in pencil and then go over them in pen, what you end up doing is tracing very carefully, and that tightens up your drawing. So all I'm going to do, get this shape, and because of the way I work, the railings are going to be the first thing I draw, because there'll be stuff behind it that I have to. If you're working in pencil, you work from the back, and then you can rub out the pencil where objects nearer to you kind of obscure something in the back, so you can get rid of the pencil. Now, with a pen you can't. So I'm going to start with this. Look at that, it's a thing of beauty. Solid brass, I love it. And it's got an extra fine nib, so what I'm going to do is start there. And the other technique that I've started to do is this, which is to do a continuous line without taking my pen off. I've lost the ability to talk and draw, sorry. And I'm only doing a rough approximation of this, these railings, because when I finished, I want you to be looking at this, not this is just a lead-in. So, and again, it's not a technical drawing. I'm deliberately kind of making everything a bit wonky, because my hands are shaking, because I've had no lunch. No sympathy. Has my wife been talking to you a lot? Now, even though this is waterproof ink, I don't know if you probably can't see there, that blob there is pure liquid ink, and I know that won't dry before we go home, so I'm just going to blot that out. There you go. Because even though it's waterproof ink, it still requires a few minutes drying time before it becomes fully waterproof. You see, some people might, I know there'll be lots of you looking at this and thinking, oh good God, John, look at all those wobbly lines. But if there's one thing I can't stand, it's stuff that looks as though it's been drawn with a ruler and a set square. It's fine if you're doing a set of architectural plans. And I like to start with the big shapes, and we'll get most of those in. Normally I would start at the top or the left and work across. And drawing buildings is great, because if you get the first one roughly in the right proportion, shape and size, you can use that then to measure things again. Like I'm looking at that look, and there's a wall there, and it's roughly, it'll go across. So the line work that I'm doing at the moment is all, I'm using the kind of the edge of the nib, because if I, can you see where my pen is now? If I press that down fully, look, you get a much broader, but then you turn it on its side and you get a much finer line. they're a lot more expressive to draw with than these, but these are great for just chucking in your bag or your pocket. You can shout questions, you know. You can, as long as they don't start with, well, that's a load of rubbish.
What sort of ink do you use?
The ink in here is ink called, it's sketch ink from a company called, in one of my very useful sketchbooks, in the back is a list of materials. Look, that's it.
Is it foreign?
It's German.
Yeah.
It's German. Fabulous. I think there's about 18 colours. I use black, which is what this is. There's a dark grey and a navy blue. Oh, I don't believe that. The words roarer and cleaner have gone onto the... Right. Okay. I tend not to bother too much about detail on the edges of a composition, because it's this I'm really interested in. I'm hardly touching the paper there. I'm just letting the pen kind of glide over the paper's surface. Surface, not service. Right, so we're going to go up here. Chimney pot. Across there. A bit down there. For that. Oh good, the words roarer on my pen are in an area where I will put some paint on. You can all stop panicking now, I'll be fine.
What do you do if you suddenly realise you've made a dreadful mistake? Do you just, that probably never happens to you.
Oh, it has.
Do you just throw the whole piece of paper away and you start again, or do you maybe chop that bit out if you can, or do you have... You don't make mistakes, I bet you don't.
Oh, I do.
I don't believe it, because trying to draw perspective as you're doing, straight in with pen like that, to me is like some sort of miracle.
I very rarely abandon a painting because of a wrong line, unless it's a commission, and then I'll start again. But if it's a pen line that's wrong, then you just pretend, you just incorporate it, because that's the thing about it. You can edit what you don't like. You can leave things out, you can add things in. Again, you see, on Landscape Artist of the Year, I remember one series where they actually raved about this chap who, I think it was somewhere in Wales, and it was drawing, I think it was a bay somewhere, and it was just a cliff edge, but he'd taken a dry stone wall from the back and he'd drawn it in front of it, so it wasn't there. And they said, oh, that's fantastic. I'm thinking, but that's not really what you're seeing. You see, I've made a mistake there, talking to you. I've done that deliberately, just to show you how, where am I now? Let's just draw that down there.
So you would never be inventive in a drawing?
Inventive?
Yeah.
You mean like make something up?
I think not necessarily bring a stone wall to the front, but if you don't think there's, let's say, enough roofs and a distance on that, you might want to put a few in.
Yes. Although something like this, I try and be as true as I can to that, because it's the look of that, all those roofs and that jumble of buildings that attracted me to that view in the first place. But one of the ways I am inventive, in other words, adding something in that's not there, is if I've got a cracking reference photograph of a scene, but there's not enough bright sunlight to give shadows, then I'll use my creative, I'll use my experience and knowledge to work out where the shadows will be, and it transforms a flipping, it really does transform, to me anyway. But no, I wouldn't, and you know the one thing I will never do on a landscape, ever, I will never, ever put 3 little birds in the sky. Or if it's on a lake, I'll draw a little yacht.
Why not?
Because I can't draw birds. Or a yacht. No, I think it's one of those cliched things that everybody says, oh, you can do that and finish that off. I'm going to breathe a big sigh of relief when I get to the end of this run of rooftops. Because quite often, when I'm tackling something like this, I'll finish the run of the rooftops without putting any detail, because where the roof, then you can drop a building down and you can use the gable ends and things to measure and get accurate, well, near enough accurate. Well, not accurate, but close enough to be believable. I can measure where these windows are roughly, because I'm only working on that little square at the moment. I'm ignoring everything else. Down here is a wall that goes up there. This building there with the blue, when I took this photograph, that was a joiner's workshop. It's a 2-bedroom holiday cottage now. Flipping joiner's workshop, and it's about 1,100 quid a week. Nearly as expensive as Keswick.
If your drawing style is more sketchy than precise, can you use the same method and get a result? Like you add washes afterwards?
For this?
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll see it about 10 to 3. And the paint, because it's with a big brush, it goes on really, really quick. In fact, it's a good question, because that's what I strive for. I strive for loose watercolour rather than really precise colouring in. That's chapter 6. My publisher said I wasn't to tell people about it yet because they'll get bored and go off the boil. But to be honest, I still can't believe somebody's, well, they haven't paid me a lot of money and they've got to sell some. It'll be something for my grandkids. See, I've made a mistake there, look. That's too wide. What do you mean, yes? I don't think there are 2 houses the same in Staithes. Right, because I'm gonna put some paint here, I need to, this is my approach to doing windows, which is just black. There, we'll do something there. See, for me, my comfort zone in drawing this will be to draw it in about that size. So scaling it up, well, it's not scaling up really, is it? It's kind of, it's size for size from this, but right. So I think that's most of the line work. Oh no, hang on. I've missed out a chimney stack there. And I often work on the premise that when you're doing line and wash the way that I do it, i.e. by the seat of your pants, I like to get the drawing to a stage where if I didn't put any colour on, it would kind of stand in its own, on its own merits. But I don't think this would yet, because there isn't enough detail, but I don't think that's too bad. And now having used 4 pencil lines, I need to get rid of them. Whoops. Now, having told you about that fountain pen that cost me 70 quid near enough, can I show you my latest purchase? There's another fountain pen that cost £5.99. And the lines, it's the same ink in there. Where's my thing? And the lines are just as clear. Look, fabulous. £5.99. It's a platinum preppy. Now what I haven't done here is to put anything in this. But I think what I'm going to do is deliberately not put much down there, because if I do that, then suddenly the whole thing's can I refer you to Exhibit A, Ullswater Cottages, previously demonstrated. I'm not intending to paint the whole thing. I'm going to see how it... Again, this is chapter... No, I can't. One of the things that this lady publisher said that had attracted them was she saw my work and she liked the use of white space rather than... Because there are many landscape painters that are far more adept and expert at doing a fully realised landscape like you all are. So I'm just going to try and do my thing, and the first thing I'm going to do is put some sky in. And normally I've got this thing for doing moody atmospheric skies, but there isn't much of the sky left there, so I'm just going to use some cobalt blue size 12 brush. If you lot weren't watching, I'd turn the board upside down so I could cut into this roof line a bit more accurately. But, sorry?
Then you haven't got an excuse.
You mean for when it completely... I don't know if you can see it. Oh, that way around. But one of the reasons I like this Saunders Waterford and the rough paper, you see all these skip marks where it kind of misses there. Let's put a bit more in. I just love them. I need to think. My go-to colour for... Sorry, when I say go-to, that I shouldn't have said that because it's kind of jargon, but the colour I most often use, not go-to colour, for stonework is yellow ochre. But this is a dirty yellow ochre because I've just nicked some Payne's grey from a little blob that was on the palette, and it's fairly pale. And this is where I'm trying to avoid colouring in. A bit more water on there, I think. That's better. We'll go down there. And then a tiny bit of almost pure pigment with no water on, and let it blend into the wash underneath. And that's, so far I've just used yellow ochre on there. Oops, where's the mucky one? Because then I need this. That's a bit dirtier. So that's yellow ochre with quite a lot of Payne's grey on. I was saying to somebody in the break that these are all Daniel Smith paints. And one of the most useful things you can get from a Daniel Smith dealer, you can get those little cards, dot cards, that have got tiny blobs of actual paint on. They're about the size of a compliment slipper. I usually carry a load of them. And they've got enough paint. For instance, I haven't got many primary colours in this palette. They're all kind of earthy and more natural. But the ones, often you need a primary colour for a telephone box or something. So rather than spend 15 quid on a tube, I get one of these cards and just use that. But I haven't brought them. So you'll have to imagine I've brought the... Yeah. Bit of that. And I like to washes mix on the paper rather than pre-mix something and then put pure colour down. That's the one. So we'll put them on. Oh, I've spotted a window that I've missed in there. So I need to wait until that's dried. But what I'll do, see, I'm doing this now with the Unipin because it's not really liquid ink that's flowing out of here. It's controlled in a capillary thing, so that's better. Now, this thing about using white, half my job's done for me there because that building's nearly all white. But if I didn't put, it's not pure white, and it's surrounded by other white buildings, so yeah. My problem now is that I'm overthinking this, and I need to stop trying to pretend that I know what I'm doing and that it's a carefully worked out plan. And I think I've probably decided just to put colour in the central bit there, but it's not going to stop just at a hard edge. And I'm now mixing up kind of a bluey with Payne's grey and indigo for these purpley roof tiles, and I've got some. That's better. That's kind of that'll be the roof tile colour, which is indigo, bit of Payne's grey, and some ultramarine violet, which that worked for. I'm going to start over here because this is the one that the furthest.
Do you use the same paint box if you're painting outdoors?
No, I've got a couple of tiny little Sketches ones.
Right.
But to be honest, I very rarely paint outdoors, and if I do, I will just take a few of those Daniel Smith dot cards, because all you need is a water pen.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Dot those and then add colour on, so you don't have to carry all this paraphernalia, because for me, sorry, I've just written about this.
Which chapter?
3. It's about keeping things relatively simple and lightweight, and going outdoors. I quite often just take that with that pen holder and literally just do the line drawing, and then I will always take a reference photograph, because the number of times I've sat down to draw like a village scene and then a truck's come and parked in front of me. And,
Oh, yes.
yeah, and you think, oh, good grief. So that's top tip. Find your view, sit down before you take a photograph, so you've got something to look at.
Are these dot cards free sample cards, or?
It depends. If you're buying paint, they'll give you loads. They're only a couple of pounds each, though.
Right.
And I've used them for ages.
And what was the name of the paint again?
It's Daniel Smith.
Right.
It's in one of the. It's in the back page of the sketchbook. Available at all good retail departments. No. I've switched to a smaller brush. There you go. I've just picked up some random colours there, because I love when you get to use Bob Ross's phrase, a happy accident, but they are. See, I'm really pleased with what I can see. I don't know if I know the cameras and everything are good, but can you see those? Mm-hmm. Oh, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So all I've done now is pick up some pure pigment there of a blue and just drop it in, and it'll just blend in beautifully up there. And I'm ending it there because, look, in case you're wondering why, because it's a kind of half brick and stonework in there, so. No, blast. That's a non-painted wall. So all I would do with that there you go. Gone, look at that. It was never there. Right, so where's that? We'll add this onto that one. And then a bit on there. And that's where and I'm just picking up tiny bits of, that's dried flat and I'm not struck on there, but I've got a plan for that one. But I like colours to just mix and run. Chimney piece there. Right, let's get the let's do that because it needs some definition there.
Do you use synthetic brushes or sable?
These are synthetic, all of these ones, these from a company called Etcher I've done online work with.
Yeah.
I haven't got any sable, I use these. That's a rosemary and co mop brush. I don't know what that, I think that might be sable, but I got that one from a bargain bin at Patchings.
Oh yeah.
£12 because it's not true. So if I ever paint anything wrong with that brush, I blame the brush because it was a reject colour that's missing. And I'm not in any way, shape or form trying to be accurate with the I just want to get with the colours and the shapes and the forms of the greenery. I just want to get some suggestion that it's not all man-made built stuff. So we'll come down to the bridge there. And who's thinking, are you going to paint the bridge that green? Well, I'm not. Because I think it's, if you paint that, then again you're detracting the stuff. And there's some greenery there. In and amongst all that.
You wouldn't paint just the end of that bridge to give it a little definition, would you?
What, here?
Yeah.
No. Because if I did there, I know what would happen. I'd go, yeah, okay. And then I'll bring it out here, and I'll come there, and I'll come there.
Yeah.
And before you know it, I've painted the whole flipping thing. And there's a bit of greenery there.
I bet you'll say no. Are you tempted to make the tide come in so that you can show the water below?
No.
Because I think that's one of the exciting things about Staithes, how
It just comes in and it completely transforms.
Yeah.
You get that view when the tide's right in. You're looking down the beck. It's just phenomenal. But equally, when all they're called cobbles, aren't they? The fishing boat. When they're all moored, you get this wonderful network of lines that. But no, I wouldn't, because I can't paint water. All I can do is kind of try and paint blue. Right. I'm looking at the clock now. What I'm going to do now is to mix. Never do that, should you? Put your brushes on this. on the thing. I'm going to mix a shadow colour now. So here we go, indigo. Where's my Payne's grey gone? There we go. Payne's grey, and I want a bit of warmth in the shadow colour, so I put some of that red on. There we go, that's a nice bit more blue on. Yeah, that'll do. So, can you see that? Oh, you can, look. I've mixed quite a goodly amount there, because goodly amount. What am I, a Victorian flipping? Put a bit more water in the mix, because I want to work from the left. So this is in shadow, this gable end. And it's casting a shadow across that roof. This appears in shadow, and if I didn't put that in, it'd look, to me that would look wrong. That's in shadow. Too much, as is this elevation there. Take that cast shadow. The side of that, the side of that. Shadow under there. Right, what else? Right, slightly paler shadow on that gable. And on this. Now, this mix, I mean, as we all know, watercolour is transparent anyway, and it will dry a bit paler. But that looks completely different to that, because there's no paint underneath that, there's no underlying colour, but in there, there's that yellow ochre underneath, which will make it look completely different. There's a cast shadow down there. Wow. Sorry, I shouldn't say that, should I?
Why not?
But it really amazes me. Now, this has got to be a paler, because it's not really a shadow, it's in the shade. And there is a difference between shade and shadow. In the shadow's darker because that building has blocked out the light, so it's casting a shadow there, but that's just in the shade, as is that. So it's paler. On this front elevation of this luxurious bijou apartment, there's a diagonal shadow there. There's one up here. Even though I've not put any paint on this, that I've kind of stopped it. It's important to put the shadows on because you still get the form. There we go, and that can go there. This is all in shade. Do that. And then, pen. What I'm going to do just to add some, and these are really, really light. I'm hardly touching the paper there. And I'm using this rather than the fountain pen because I don't want the lines to spread. Because even though the wash is dry, ink lines on damp paper do tend to have a tendency to spread. So I'll just put those on there. Apparently in Staithes, if your house needs a new roof, you're not allowed to replace them with the traditional ones, the terracotta tiles, but you've got to put blue tiles on. By order of the North Yorkshire think it's the Moors and Parks Authority, I don't know. Seems mad to me. But I think those pen lines really, yeah, they kind of bring it a bit more into focus, I think. Does that sound, or does it sound like something I've made up? Mr. Shadow there, look, under the eaves. There. And there. And there. And then, what I will do though, just to see if I can make it work on here, I'll just put a heavier line along the top of this fictitious stone wall there. And it just gives it, and I'll do the same thing along the top of this one. I don't want to go overboard, because I think if you make it too bold and too heavy, it can end up looking a bit cartoonish. Do the same thing. And we'll just, where this colour's run in this mix that I'm drawing on now, we'll just use some of the shapes to suggest actual brick or stonework. Because if I left it as it was, it would just look like a rendered wall, which, and I actually think this is kind of nearing. Oh, that's grey. There it is. The one thing I will do though with the bridge, this is a 0.5, I'll just emphasise the top of this railing. The fine lines got lost in all the colour. And I'll do it on this side as well. There.
You're not putting the bridge shadows in?
Oh, sit down. Who was that? I was hoping you missed that. Right, this will have to be really, this is what. David, can you take a photograph of it as it is now before I completely ruin it? Because I've done that now, I've got to do this, look. And because I've done that side, I've got to flip and come over here. It's because of an audience like you that Ullswater thing ended up the way it did. Battery's gone. And I think I'm going to sit, because if I start that, if I carry on now, I think that's finished, ladies and gentlemen, so there we go.
Thank you very much, John. Entertaining as ever, and I love the technique. I think it's quite superb. So thank you again.